question that I talked about before. I like that question a lot. Yeah?
The IDPA question.
Yeah, are we live? Yeah, we are. Welcome to the Practical Pistol Show, people. My name's Ben. I'm here to answer your shooting questions. On deck, Tim Myers. No, Tim Heron.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Nick, GMShooting.com is here.
I guess.
Yes.
Hopkins told us off. He said he can fuck off. He didn't really. He's just busy tonight. All right, we'll start off with a question that is, I find it sort of amusing because it's obviously not from a long-time listener. Let me put it that way. I bet I'm not very competitive, but I love shooting matches. I try to hit one every week. For me, that means shooting a mix of IDPA and USPSA matches. I prefer USPSA rules, but I like that the IDPA matches run faster because we don't have to wait for people to air gun each stage for 10 minutes before we shoot. I was curious if any of you ever shoot IDPA matches and wanted to hear your general thoughts about IDPA. Do you think shooting IDPA matches will lead to bad habits in USPSA? Am I the only one who thinks USPSA shooters could dominate IDPA if they felt like it? Tim?
Oh my God! Why did you go to me first?
Because Nick actually Nick is a credible IDPA shooter still to this day.
I agree. I am not an IDPA shooter. I have shot exactly one IDPA match in my career. So, and it's did I dominate? Yeah, I guess I could say I dominated pretty good.
Yeah, but it was IDPA, so does it really
count?
Yeah,
but it was IDPA, so it was pretty. I don't know. So, unfortunately, in Kansas City, we don't really have a big contingent of IDPA matches and stuff like that around here either. So, just I don't know. It's not really my cup of tea. I guess if there was a good club around here, maybe I'd shoot it, but for no other reason than just maybe to shoot it. So, I really don't have a good answer for this question. So, with that being said, I'll pass it to Nick.
Nick, what are your general thoughts as to IDPA?
Oh man, it's it's just a different rule set. It's a different experience.
Shut up, man.
Could USPSA shooters dominate? Hey, they do. Okay, look at national champion IDPA shooters. They're all extremely high level USPSA shooters. So the answer to your question is they could and they do. The big differences are obviously there's a lot more subjective rules in IDPA. So from a sporting perspective, it's inferior to USPSA just based on the amount of subjectivity in the scoring. The other thing is the scoring model in IDPA forces hits. It forces accuracy to such a degree that your other skills are going to suffer a little bit if you train exclusively for IDPA only. So you're not going to be that fast, like drawing, reloading, moving, transitioning, all that stuff is not forced by the scoring model in IDPA to the same degree that it is in USPSA. So you're probably, if you're an IDPA exclusive shooter, you're probably not going to do so great at USPSA. However, the reverse is not always true. Other than that, if it's available and you enjoy it, shoot it. It's a personal decision. I don't know what else to say.
Nick, you're funny.
It's like saying dressing in drag. That's a personal decision. But, yeah.
I shot IDPA for a while until I was invited not to come back.
Why was that?
Anyone. What's that?
Why were you not invited to come back?
No, I was invited not to come back.
Why were you invited not to come back?
Those motherfuckers. What's that? It was a fairly polite suggestion. Let me put it this way. I don't. You know how you guys know my hot buttons?
Yeah.
Like popper calibration, like blatant unfairness, makes me fucking crazy. So when I see that sort of thing at a match, I don't like it, even if I'm not directly affected by it. Let me put it to you like that. So I've had some heated conversations with IDPA match directors, which, pretty much fruitless. So it's kind of like it doesn't jive for me. My thoughts on IDPA is that actually at the club level, it's super regional. I travel so much now. I meet a lot of IDPA cliques in different regions. One does not exist where I live. IDPA is not a viable option for me. There's just nobody doing it. There's some regions that have active and cool IDPA clubs that I would participate in if I lived there and I shot club matches. But most regions don't have that. As a sport, for the reasons that Nick pointed out, it's fucked. Like, at this point, I have zero interest in shooting a state level or higher IDPA match. Like, so to go to it as something other than a club level thing, I'm not interested. I'm just not. I don't want cover calls determining the match. I don't know. It's not real tight in terms of stage design. There's not the sort of guidelines in place there. You see a lot of like goofy, crazy, or just sort of stupid things. I see a lot of that on video. That'll be coming from one IDPA match or another oftentimes. Not that you don't have that in USPSA occasionally, but for IDPA, I'm not interested in it for a competition to determine who the best shooter is. On the club level, it's driven by whoever's around at that club. That's pretty reasonable, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an IDPA match director to this day. I've been an IDPA match director somewhere for years now. And it's a good local club sport. I mean, it's a good way for new shooters to get involved because the gear requirements are minimal. It's a good way it's easy to set up a match. You know, you don't need nearly as much stuff to build a stage due to the shooting. You know, all the cover rules and all that. You don't need as much stuff. So, you know, it has its upsides. Those upsides, it does not make as good of a competitive sport as USPSA.
Yeah, we have a rotating match director position for my Monday night club, and I set up IDPA matches every year. And it takes me like 45 minutes to build a 4-stage match. It'll be good. It'll be like a fun match. And instead of like building walls and all this shit, it'll be like, yeah, you shoot this from here and that from there, and that's it. Have fun. Yeah,
I mean, we have what I do now is, you know, it's an indoor match that we have on a weeknight, and we're literally there from 6:30 to 9. We're there 2.5 hours. We shoot like 3 pretty good stages. We build them all. We tear them all down. We do everything in that amount of time with like 20 shooters. So
yeah.
So it's a way to shoot on a weeknight's good. It's just there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I would not, if you had the option, I would not limit myself to it exclusively. I would branch out and shoot other stuff as well. Well,
they almost need 2 rule books or something, like one for club level IDPA and then one for like, okay, now we're serious, sanctioned match IDPA, different rule book, right? Or no?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's not really.
No, that's not real life. I get it.
Yeah.
Then the other thing is, when I started shooting IDPA in 2005, it was in the middle of a big uproar over a new rule book. They changed some holster rules, pissed a bunch of people off. A bunch of clubs left. A bunch of shooters are very angry. One of the clubs that left was the club that I started shooting at. So I went and shot my first IDPA match, and then the next month, yeah, that's no longer an IDPA club. It's like, Jesus Christ, what's going on with the sport? I'm like, I hope these guys get this thing sorted out and quit pissing everyone off.
I think that's standard. Every time they do a rule book revision, that same thing happens.
So now we're like more than 10 years on from where I started shooting, and it's fucking gotten, like, the IDPA people have gotten worse. Like, they've gotten fucking worse. Jesus. So, well, that's IDPA for you. I mean, that's the way it goes. So that's my thoughts on IDPA. And so when I think of IDPA, I do not think of a shooting sport even. I just start like sounds like a bunch of rules I don't want to deal with, or a bunch of like nonsense bullshit. That's me. I'm jaded. Nick, do you feel the same way? Are you going to shoot IDPA majors this year?
No.
Carolina Cup's gone now, so you're out.
That is correct.
So you're not even. This is like, so last year was kind of your last year shooting
Yeah,
IDPA, I guess.
and it turns out I'm busy that weekend anyway. But yeah, it's now the Carolina Cup's been the only major that I've shot the last at least 2 years, and now that it's gone, I'm pretty much
Now
out.
you're gone.
Yep.
From IDPA.
From IDPA majors.
Well, I mean, once you're gone from majors, it's like, I mean, you're basically out, right?
Yeah, and in my mind, I'm obviously focused on other things.
You're focused on shooting competitively.
Yes, that's correct.
What's funny about that, Tim?
I just love this like this little quips that you just gotta plug it in there. It's awesome.
Well, Nick's a competition shooter, and IDPA is not part of that plan.
Yeah, like I said, it's not.
Just keeping it real, dude.
It has it has its uses. It's just once you get to the point where you want to compete hard, it's not the best option.
Yeah. No, that's it. Like when you get to the point where you've been shooting a while and you are only interested in the competition part of it, I mean, if some guy starts at this point, I don't know what I'd do if a guy was screaming cover at me while I was shooting a stage. But I'm gonna be like, "Fuck you!" Like, whatever. It's irritating. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It looks like a good one. I get so aggravated shooting local matches because of the buddy system. I don't know what you call it. Cheating. If one of your shooting buds is shooting and you are the acting RO and your buddy kills the 180 facing uprange by almost 90 degrees at the start beep without you calling out stop, you're cheating. Half the time it's on video too. You look at the camera, make faces, wait for someone to say stop. If no one does, oh well, what the fuck. I've seen this happen more than a few times at local matches. Paul Hendricks did it with the timer, and you think not calling a DQ, just keeping your mouth shut is different? That's the question. What's your thoughts on that, Nick?
Tim's gone.
Yeah.
So first of all, I think it's a fundamentally different situation than Paul Hendricks. Okay, so
It is. Yes.
So a 90-degree, a 180 call is always subjective. All right, it's just the way it is. Now, if you think you have a serious and ongoing repetitive safety issue, you need to go talk to the match director about that. I mean, you talk to the RO if you want to, but really you need to talk to the match director about that. Let them know what's going on, and that needs to be addressed. And I wouldn't categorize that as cheating per se. Just because it's a completely subjective call. It's not the same thing as reading the wrong numbers off the timer intentionally. Okay, it's not. I don't put that in the same category. I put this as a potentially serious safety issue that needs to be corrected. That's my only thoughts on that, really. I mean, if it's an ongoing safety issue, it has to be addressed, right?
Well, have you seen like a buddy system thing that you would describe as cheating?
No, not in USPSA. I mean, that's a nice thing about USPSA is all the actual shooting rules are the scoring rules are really not subjective. So
you've never been at a match where it's like a club match with some guy holding a timer, making the calls for a friend, and if they hand out a double, maybe they shouldn't, something like that.
No, they'll be raked over the coals by the rest of the squad if that happens. So, no, I haven't seen that. The only thing I've seen, I didn't know at the time. I witnessed some of the PVH stuff, live when it happened, but obviously we didn't know it at the time. But in terms of calling hits that aren't there, or some other blatant, allowing him to shoot with his foot out of bounds and not calling procedure or something, I've never seen anything else that's like obvious, locally or otherwise. Personally.
Yeah. Tim, well, you knew what the question is going to be. Have you? Do you feel like a 180 break potentially at a match? You feel like that's a cheating situation or what?
I don't know if I'd necessarily consider it like a cheating per se, but yeah, I mean, at the local level, I mean, we've got new guys that, we've got a pretty experienced squad that tends to run all of our stages, and once in a while we'll get a new guy on there that'll, I don't know, he might, I don't want to say might break the 180, and we tell him, you know, ooh, you broke the 180, but be careful on that kind of thing. But I've seen it.
Yeah, but dude.
But as far as somebody breaking the 180 in order to...
A lot of people do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if I roll up to you after you shoot a stage, and I'm like, okay, be careful, you were pretty close to the 180 there, what I'm actually saying is, you broke the fucking 180.
Right.
Don't do that again.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've seen that kind of thing at local levels, but somebody using it like, oh, they broke the 180, like for some sort of a benefit to the shooter to, I don't know, to game the stage or something like that. Nah.
I mean, that more as a reluctance to DQ people.
Right. Generally, it's like, well, dude, definitely don't want to send my fucking buddy home, and that sucks.
Well, I don't want to send anyone home.
Exactly. But yeah, I
mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't, or haven't.
I would say
but I find it's not a good thing to do.
I would say it's like safety violations. I agree with Nick though. They do definitely need to be taken seriously. I mean, the last thing I want to do is like have my friends at a local match, you know, tell me like, oh yeah, you're close, but it looks okay, and then I go to a major match thinking everything is okay, and yeah, I get sent home because I'm dicking around doing the same stuff. So
yes, yeah, long term, you're not really helping anyone.
Right.
Not addressing safety issue or safety rule problems. But yeah, I don't put that in the same boat as cheating, unless I don't know if you have an RO who like loves to DQ people, and we know there's quite a few of them, you know, and they don't DQ their friends when they have it coming. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But I can't say that I've ever seen that. I would consider that if that's the situation, I would consider that cheating. By the way, but
I've never witnessed anybody doing like the whole like PVH thing, where like they're doubling the time or adding a couple seconds to the time or reducing. That shit would piss me off. But I have seen like, you know, buddies doing the whole like, oh yeah, that's 2 Alpha and it's clearly an Alpha Charlie, or you know, oh that's an Alpha Mike and it's, you know, they're saying that's a double or something like that. They're just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever.
Well, there's a few shooters who I've seen at major matches, like argue scoring calls and stuff, and sometimes it's a young shooter, maybe it's a female, something like that. Some like people that you'd want to have shooting, and I feel like watching them, it's, man, they must get away with murder at their local club.
Right.
I get that feeling, but I don't know. Again, I don't know that I'd call that cheating. It's just.
But it's the same thing too. I mean, if Hopkins was on here on this episode tonight too, that's one of the things we've seen even at state matches that we've gone to, where we've had people that are ROing a stage that kind of like feel like, oh, there's a grandmaster that's on this squad, so they almost give you like purposely give you the benefit of the doubt, and you know, it's like, no, I missed that. And they're like, no, that looks like a double. And it's like, no, you don't understand. That's totally a mic. And they're like, no, I'm pretty sure you missed that. Like, you know, are you sure you don't want to reshoot it? It's like, no, I missed that. You know, and it's like, I understand you might want to be doing me a favor or something, but dude, don't. Just don't. Refrain from that. You know. So if Hoppy were here, he would kind of know who I'm talking about.
I had to come shoot in the Midwest, I guess.
People are real nice.
Or you've got it the opposite. You've got the guy that's like, yeah, this grandmaster is gonna get fucked. You know.
Yeah. They kind of about 50-50 between guys looking to do you a favor and guys looking to fuck you over.
Exactly.
Yeah, true story.
So, and then, you know, at the end of the day, all I want is just give me some level of, you know, consistency all the way across. Like I don't want to be treated as something different, good or bad. Just score me like you would score anybody else. You know. Don't give me the buddy deal or the enemy deal. Just score me right.
We'll give you the enemy deal. PVH your ass.
Oh shit.
That would like do more than piss me off. Like,
oh dude, that would call for somebody getting like their teeth fucking knocked out.
You know that's
and
a pet
nice
peeve of mine. You know that's a pet peeve of mine when people act like that. I already talked about it. I enjoyed running that motherfucker out of the sport. I enjoyed it.
He had it coming.
Yeah. Yeah, there would if that happened to me, that would probably be a range I would probably be invited to not come back to, because somebody would be picking up teeth with broken fingers, kind of thing. That's a bad deal.
I like Nick was also on the other end of the PVH thing, where I shot a stage, I'm like, man, it felt faster than that. When he called off the time.
Well, that's the thing. Like the only time he actually hit my score individually, he +1 me on one stage that he was on at a North Carolina State match, and the other time he screwed me, he was -2ing his buddy all day in another match, but I wasn't in that squad, so I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God!
But thankfully, he's gone. So good riddance.
Yes. Oh, well, another bang-up show, guys. If you have a question you want to send, go to bensticker.com, get my email address, email me your question. We'd love to talk about it. If you want to get in touch with Nick, very soon it'll be gmshooting.com. And if you want to get in touch with Tim Heron, you can't.
Yeah.
You can go to Hopkins' website and sign up for their class. It's April 23rd and 24th, 2015.
Exactly.
You're going to get picked up in a DeLorean and taken back to it.
Oh, man. It's awesome.
It is awesome. Great job, guys.